And our next guest played a giant part, yes, giant part, in helping bring Sergeant Tahmooressi home. Montel Williams joins us. Nice to see you, Montel.
Good to see you, Greta.
Montel, Sergeant Tahmooressi is so fortunate to have you as a friend. Every Marine is so fortunate to have you as a fellow Marine. I want you as my friend. I mean, you really had this guy's back from the get-go.
And I want to make sure people understand, this is not something that we did because of the press. I have his back, and I want to stay behind him through this journey. We're working right now to see if we can get him in the treatment program. I just spoke to him yesterday. He just texted me last night. I texted him back just now, coming over here to get ready for his interview, and he's just texted back again. So we're in communication. We're going to stay in communication because, you know, as you saw in that interview, which I got to tell you, Greta, you know, thank you for the way you treated him, and you know, you're an interviewer, you're a news anchor, and this is what you're supposed to do, but thank you. The respect you showed him.
You know what,
we understand.
I appreciate every single member of our military. I appreciate him. I appreciate you. But you know what? You know who else we ought to probably give a little bit of a shout out for is someone who works for you, Jonathan Franks, who has been, you know, he's also helped you help him.
Jonathan Franks, who runs a company called Lucid, is the head of my communication for Montel Media. And Jonathan has been the stalwart in this. I'm going to tell you something. You're going to ask Governor Richardson. You're going to ask, you know, Congressman Salmon, Congressman Royce. Ask Jill. This young man just came back from their home last night, and he and I are working, you know, as closely as we can to make sure that, again, once this simmers down, let's make sure that Andrew gets the help he needs. And as you saw, you know, there were some moments in that interview, and you know, people I think are probably reflecting on it right now, and they're picking pieces to say, oh, we got to be angry about this and that. But when you look at that young man, first off, the fact that he can even get this out, I applaud him. I applaud you. The fact that he was willing to share this now, I hope that everyone else who wants a piece of him stops for now and just looks at that interview and knows that he needs a little bit of a break.
The PTSD is so serious and so overlooked, and I think the thing that struck me about the interview is that he was released not because they said he didn't have guns in his car in Mexico. He did. But because they said he has PTSD. But what really bothers me, I know he's not angry about it, but I am, is it took 214 days for the Mexican government to realize he had PTSD. It took the U.S. government. They never came to that conclusion or helped, although they were well aware of the fact that he had an intake at San Diego showing he had PTSD. And if any viewer watches 15 seconds of this young man, they realize he has a problem. So we get it in 15 seconds. Mexican government gets in 214 days, and our U.S. government, I don't know where they were.
I don't know where they still are, but right now I know there's a lot of people stepping up to the plate. And Andrew knows he's got a job with me if he wants. This is not what's needed right now. What's needed and what you know, Donald is willing to pay for. He needs treatment, and you can see it. You're clear. You stated it. Look at that interview, and you know you have up online right now. And I watched and studied some this morning, and looking at a couple of spots because you know I'm talking to him and I want to try to help him get through this. And there were a couple places where I can see he gets buried inside of himself, reliving that memory while he's trying to explain it to us. And, you know, anybody who's a psychiatrist or a psychologist would say to you, okay, guys, watch this. Great. We see it. But now let's give him a chance to cure himself and to heal, please.
Anyone listening, you don't anyone looking at this or listening can. But, you know, one of the things that I asked him about was whether politics played a role in this. And here's what he said about that.
It definitely could have. I think they knew, you know, that it wasn't right in, you know, a long time before I got arrested. I mean, before a long time that I got released. I think they knew, you know, they felt the gist of it all. And they were, I think they felt in their hearts that I wasn't guilty. But they decided to keep me there.
What makes me even madder, Montel, is that, you know, whatever political grudges there are in this nation or between nations or whatever, if politics played a part about it to make this Marine sit there for 214 days, shame on everybody. And
I'm going to tell you something. It was shame on our political system for waiting for this long, too. Because remember, Greta, it took us the last 2 weeks to start getting senators and congressmen to sign on to the House resolution bill. We're blessed that we had, you know, Governor Richardson and Congressman Salmon and Congressman Royce who decided to hold that hearing. And you know that that hearing had as much to do with the pressure amping up to get this young man out as anything else. And so, and your work and what Glenn did, you know, it took a, you know, what is that old saying? It takes a village to raise a child. Well, it took this whole community coming together, a gargantuan effort to get this young man out. And now that same effort's needed to get him the help he needs now. We're not going to let go until it happens.
And just one last question. It's sort of distressing is that there's so many other Americans in other prisons around the world, and too bad they all don't have these tireless mothers like Jill Tahmooressi. It oftentimes does take a mother pounding on it and getting on the TV every day. So I tip my hat to her as well.
Same thing. I do. That woman should get an award for, you know, showing us all how to take care of our children. And I respect her quite a bit. I'm telling you, Greta, again, don't let this die. Make sure we keep this in the mindset of Americans to make sure they understand that that look in that young man's eyes is the look that's in thousands of young men's eyes that are back from that war and they haven't gotten the treatment that they need. And let's remember, Congress passed the bill before they went away. We are still in the same place that we were before the bill was passed. Let's not forget, please.
Montel, thank you very much. Always nice to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, Greta.